14, after line 33, insert the following new
Last
section.
line.
5, Chapter 9, 8.56 RCW.
Senator Wilson, Lynda.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adopt amendment number 371.
Senator Wilson moves adoption of amendment number 0371. Remarks, Senator Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. President. So if we want to get to the root of the problem of this so-called gun violence, we need to look no further than those that are actually committing the crime, those that will not get a background check, those that will seek to find evil and act upon it, those that steal the gun specifically looking for to find a target, those that break the law. We have had an Office of Firearm Safety and Violence Prevention for a few years now. In that time, just Seattle hit an all-time high in shootings in 2022. And the year before that was another record, and the year before that was another record. It's time we stop with this coddling of criminals. It's no wonder we're seeing crime increase. Our illicit drugs are rampant in our communities. Mental health sidles up right next to the skyrocketing overdoses. People don't feel safe. So what are we doing to address this? The police have been neutered, and the people are systematically losing their right to self-defense. And your answer to fix this is banning the modern sporting rifle, the most common rifle in the country. It's interesting that in 2020, when the massive rioting was occurring in the Summer of Love in Seattle, where people were at record rates out buying guns, and the majority of those were first-time gun owners. They were purchasing it for the first time. And so what it's saying is that what we're doing is not working. It's time to start making the criminal pay for the crimes that they are perpetrating on the innocent victims in our towns and cities. This amendment will create the crime of a theft of an assault weapon, and every weapon taken in theft is a separate offense. It's a Class B felony to be served consecutively. Let's get serious about the violence in our state and stop wasting our time on passing laws that only make criminals out of law-abiding citizens. Thank you.
Further remarks, Senator Dhingra.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm rising in opposition to this amendment because the legislature back in 1995 had the same thought that Senator Wilson had. And in fact, we do have a crime called theft of a firearm, which actually is easier to implement because it says firearm. It doesn't restrict it only to assault weapons. And it also doesn't designate locations from where it must be stolen. It's just theft of a firearm. So as a prosecutor, I'll just say it's a lot easier to prosecute crimes when you have less elements to prove. And so the crime that's already in law says that you are guilty of a theft of a firearm if you steal any firearm. And it says it doesn't matter what the value of it is. You still can be charged and prosecuted. It also says exactly as what Senator Wilson wanted in this amendment, that each one is a separate offense. And it also says that it is a Class B felony. So the legislature back in 1995 had that idea. They made the theft of a firearm a Class B felony. And so there is absolutely no need to have this amendment, which actually is more restrictive than what is under current law. So I'm going to ask for a no vote.
Further remarks, Senator Fortunato.
So, Mr. President, I had a firearm stolen. I knew who did it. I told the cops. Nothing happened. So how does this work? I, as a law-abiding citizen, certainly didn't want to lose my gun, for one. I knew who did it. I told the cops. The cops said we can't do anything about it. So much for our laws if we don't enforce them, Mr. President. So if we're going to focus on assault weapons and make that additional, so be it. We need to be able. Law-abiding citizens don't want bad people doing bad things with guns. We want these people that do potential felonies with firearms, armed robberies. We want them off the street. They are committing these with stolen firearms. We want that enforced. Thank you, Mr. President.
There are no further remarks. The question before the Senate is adoption of amendment number 0. Senator Short.
Sorry, Mr. President. Rising in support of the gentlelady's amendment, and I just Very interesting discussion. And I just want to bring to the body's attention, there's a bill that we were going to take up today, but we haven't yet. And it's actually on sentencing enhancements, Mr. President. And it actually the bill itself would give the judge the discretion to do consecutive sentences to concurrent. And so in some fashion, this bill makes it easier on crime, not, those who commit crimes with weapons, versus standing straight up as the gentlelady who previously spoke about our existing statutes. And so I think here we want to stay consistent, and the gentlelady's amendment really does that, and I think reasons I'd offer its support.
Senator Dhingra.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. I have to explain the difference between multiple counts and sentencing enhancements and what goes consecutively and concurrently. Under current law, sentencing enhancements are mandated to be consecutive. When we have multiple counts, they can go either currently or consecutively.
Senator Braun, state your point of order.
Point of inquiry, Mr. President. The testimony, or the speech by a good friend from the 45th does not seem to be related to this bill. It seems to be informing us about an entirely different issue.
Jeannie, were you listening? Senator Dhingra, the President reminds you to please restrict your remarks to the amendment pending before the Senate.
Mr. President, so the amendment before us specifically says that each sale of each weapon can be a separate offense, and that's where you have the information about multiple charges. So if you are stealing, say, 3 guns, you can charge them with 3 separate counts. Under current law, each of those counts can run consecutively, or they can be run concurrently. And that's what I was trying to say about this amendment, that is also current law, that you can have each of those run consecutively or concurrently, and that is based on the charging as well as judicial discretion.
If there are no further remarks, the question before the Senate is adoption of amendment number 0371. As many are in favor, will signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The noes appear to have it.